In my talk today, I'm going to talk about, of course, mindfulness. What is the why? I'm really big on that. What is the why? Why are we doing that? Why mindfulness? And I'm going to link that to some of the neuroscience, like why it impacts our health. So it makes a difference, it resonates with you about the why. And then I'm going to leave you with some practical strategies. And in the middle of the talk, just to break it, keep it lively, we'll do a little fun activity with all of you. Okay, so I'm saying, the technology is not the friend. We'll see the little screen today. If you have any difficulty looking at the screen, I'm happy to repeat my words. I'll walk you through the slides. It's really my guide. I'll be doing the talking most of the time. Okay, so what is Āsvāda? Mr. Agarwal, you mentioned, what is Asvada? It means taste, relish, and being aware of the food. So, Mr. Mahatma Gandhi was a really big advocate of control, like discipline in life, and that also reflects the discipline of eating. So Gandhi viewed taste as an essential, again, for self-discipline and ethical living, and also believed in food choices which reflect simplicity. So to begin, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. I know it's hard to read, but I'm going to speak. And just raise your hand as I ask you a question. Have you ever eaten because it's mealtime? Yeah. Hurry down the meal as you run down to another activity? No. Every day. Eaten straight out of the bag. Teachers, yes. I want some hands there. Eaten while distracted. Yeah, most of us. Eaten the last dry chocolate chip cookie just because it's there. Yeah. Eaten because the food is in front of you. I do that. I tell this to mom. I'm like, don't keep in front of me, I'll eat it. Eaten because you're bored, lonely, or emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. And forgotten what your last meal was like. Do you remember what your lunch was like? Yeah.
I forgot what I ate.
Okay, here we go. So that is called mindlessness. It's mindless eating. And every day, believe it or not, we make about 200 decisions about eating. I know it sounds a lot, but we do that. 200 decisions per day, what to eat, what not to eat. And the drive behind is, of course, a lot of factors. Am I going to a party? Am I staying home? So many factors, of course, decide what my food decision would be. And why does it matter what we eat? To put a very simple example, I taught many classes at universities. Whenever I talk about nutrition, I say, simply, nutrition means food at work in the body. So when we eat food, there are many functions to it. Of course, we enjoy food. Food has like a social aspect in our life. We eat food because sometimes it's associated to emotions. We eat food because it nourishes our body. Sometimes we eat food because it nourishes our soul. Imagine that grandma's old recipe. That is exactly what it is. It nourishes our soul. So food has many functions, but the primary function is, of course, to keep us going, to grow, to maintain, and to thrive. And eating mindfully can help with better digestion, healthier weight and metabolism, and also more control over cravings. And I'm going to talk a lot about these things today. So what is mindful eating? I know you can't read my screen, so I'll just, ask you, what do you think? What is mindful eating for you? Any brave? Sorry, I'll keep looking at teachers. You already told me, you put yourself at spot. Yes.
Paying attention to what we eat.
Yes, absolutely.
The taste of it, the texture.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts? Yes or no? Yeah, my daughter is going to answer. Yes, please. Eating without any distractions, that's sometimes we don't do, but yes. So mindful eating means being fully aware and paying attention to the experience of eating and drinking, and both inside and outside of the body. And I feel mindfulness is not only about eating, but also being where you are. So when we say mindful, being mindful, it means all of us right here, like we're about 56 some people, our minds are where our bodies are. We are right here, right now. We're not thinking about the next door we have to run. We're not thinking about, like Monday tomorrow, election day. I know it's a big day for us, but it means right here, right in the moment. It could be any act, it could be any activity, it could be eating, it could be doing prayer, it could be doing meditation, it could be doing your exercise, it could be your Zumba class, it could be anything. It's being right here, right now. And there are some aspects of mindful eating specifically. So awareness of your hunger, fullness. Do you always know that you're hungry? Do we pay attention to those cues? Yeah? That, okay, I am hungry now, I need to eat. Or is it because it's 12 o'clock, it's my lunchtime at work, I need to open the bag? So recognizing the hunger and also the fullness, that I need to stop eating now, I'm done, my body is full. And being non-judgmental. I always say, and this is one of the things I often get asked, I have a private practice called Human Nutrition and Dietetics, and I see many clients with different chronic conditions, some people just want to work on healthy lifestyles, and people always ask me, can I eat this cookie, for example? I'm like, yes, but I want you to forget about everything and enjoy that cookie. When you eat that, there's no judgment, there's no guilt, you enjoy that. So it means you enjoy food with pleasure. And that itself gives a signal to our brain, which is different than when you eat that food with judgment. So when we pose ourselves into, I'm guilty, I ate that slice of cake. No, we don't need to do that. If you ate it, just enjoy it. And then sensory engagement. That's one of the activities we are going to do today. Involving your senses in the act of eating. And then, of course, gratitude. Gratitude for the food, gratitude for having a full plate of something you enjoyed. So, again, some other tips for mindful eating. So, of course, being in the moment, observing your body, and noticing all the senses, taste, aroma, temperature of the food. Some people don't like, cold food. I'm also part of them. And acknowledging the response of your body to the food. Am I feeling full? Do I need a little bit more? Acknowledge that. And be aware of what triggers and what asks yourself to stop the food, okay? I'm full now, I can stop. And recognizing the interconnectedness of food with the earth.
Navita, what
Yes.
if you don't like what you are eating?
Sorry? Yeah.
What if you don't like what you are eating? How can you be not judgmental?
I love that question, Mr. Agarwal. I can talk about one of my own personal examples. So before coming to Canada, I came here to do my doctorate actually. Before that, 10 years, I lived in hostels, like university campuses and college mess canteens. I can tell a lot of people wouldn't understand the food, and I lived 10 years outside my home. I left my home after grade 10. Trust me, I started appreciating food so much more after that. Before that, I would be like, Mom, I don't want that, I don't want that. This is not my favorite. After that, I have eaten meals which were not delicious. I don't want to use bad words for food. I would eat them as if this is the last meal. I would enjoy it. And my friend said, sit opposite to Nav because it feels like she's enjoying something really delicious. So it's also about a perception. And again, why are you eating something which is not delicious? Is it because it's healthy? What is your why? Or your wife made food which you didn't like and you're being polite? What is your why, Mr. Agarwal?
You have no choice sometimes.
Yeah, you don't have choice, but I'll get to you after this. But you know, it's also like when you are present, when you don't have choice, I feel, and I'm going to talk about your taste buds. Your taste buds changes so quickly when you adapt. It does, you know, start enjoying foods. One of the example is when I moved here, like moved to Canada 15, 16 years ago. One of my roommate was like, you know, Canadian friend of mine, and she said, Nav, I brought mung beans, mungi, as we say in Hindi Punjabi. I said, okay, how are you going to make it? She said, I will make it like, I'm just going to boil it and then taste the actual flavor of mung beans. I said, oh, okay, that sounds bland, because we never conditioned our mind to eat food without putting all the spices and masala, right?
Right.
So it's how we accustom ourselves, our taste buds to train for that. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question, but before that, a comment.
Yes.
Having lived for 4 years in an engineering college hostel myself, I
Okay.
can fully appreciate what you said.
Absolutely. Thank you.
My question is different, and that is, how much you eat, is that determined by circumstances? Because I belong to a generation where it was drilled into us, never waste food.
Yeah.
And you know why? Bengal 1943.
Right.
I cannot directly remember that,
Yeah.
but the stories of the Bengal famine
Right.
hung over our generation. Would you like to comment on how much you eat?
So that's a great question again, and I have learned this a hard way too. Honestly, telling you, you need to, like, first of all, of course, like situations could be different. Like, you know, we're talking about a general, like, moderate income household, right? Like, of course, when we talk about famine, those are like extreme conditions, right?
We're talking in North America. We're not
Exactly. Let's talk
talking
about here. Exactly. So usually I always say you can go back, right? We can go back. I would take like a smaller portion, and there's a study on that. I'm going to talk about that as well. That you take a small portion, you sit, you enjoy. If you still feel the need to eat more because it was delicious, you're not full, you go back and take more. You don't have to fill up your plate in the first place and then feel obliged to not waste food. And I'm totally up for that. I do not like wasting food. So it's like honoring and again recognizing your hunger, right? How hungry are you right now? Do you need to fill the whole plate, or like, you know? And we'll talk about balance as well, like how you plan so you eat the balance in your meals and not like, you know, overeating or not enjoying food. I'm enjoying this conversation, but I'll keep going, and we'll have lots of time for question and answers at the end. Okay, so why mindful eating matters? Because in this fast-paced environment, overconsumption, overeating is pretty easy, right? If you go to States, you can't even find smaller size portions. Like, you can't get salad, you have to have fries. If you want Coke, you have to have a big giant Coke. So all that matters. This is the fast-paced fast food culture. Not eating mindfully has been linked with different chronic conditions, obesity, and poor satisfaction, emotional eating. And also WHO, the World Health Organization, and National Institute of Health supports mindful eating. I was honestly blown away by the amount of research in this area recently. We know about it, we talk about it, Gandhi talked about it like, you know, 100 years ago, but the research, because I'm a researcher, I want the evidence. Okay, we know it's good, but what is it backing up by an evidence? Is there enough literature in the science that backs up our hypothesis? So there is. And also, coming to your question, why mindful eating helps planet? Because of course, we are being more aware. Less food waste is, of course, better for environment. Eating local, eating food which is grown locally, of course. We are big on that right now in Canada, supporting local, supporting Canadian food, produce, right? To support our own people. And less processed foods, it also means less pollution in the environment. And mindful eating leads to a healthier body and planet. Some of the benefits of mindful eating. It builds a healthy relationship with food. And this is something as I said, I talk about food, I sleep food, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I'm into this all the time. And these are the habits I have inculcated over the years that makes difference in how I approach food. And this is what I try to inculcate in people I work with, that, what is the vision for food? Like, what is our why again? Like, I'm really big on that. So it builds a healthier relationship with food, meaning you take away the judgment. You are enjoying what you're eating, and then it helps in better weight control. No need to diet ever again. I want to put it in parentheses, because you're being so aware, you're being so conscious about what you're eating, that you don't need to go into diet mode, because that's the culture. Better prevention and management of health-related conditions, and more satisfaction from eating. Engaged in healthy food system, and you become more in perspective. Like, when I pay attention, I know when I need to eat, do I need to eat, why do I need to eat, sort of, right? So I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to ask you another question. Do you think what you eat, or do you eat on autopilot? You mentioned you watch TV, right, when you eat? So autopilot means, like, it's automatic activity happening, and you're not really paying attention, you're just eating. Do you ever, okay, maybe I'll pose it this way. Have you sat down in last week and spent 20 minutes eating a meal?
Every day, right?
20 minutes? Okay, good.
20 minutes.
I like
With
that.
the cell phone too.
Yeah, very good.
Not looking for cell phone.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so some people do, some people don't. And think about your last meal. Did you really taste it? Or were you distracted? Taste it?
Sat out in the sun and ate my meal in the backyard.
Love it. I did that too this morning. I'm like, sun is out, I'm going to drink my chai in the backyard. Now we're going to talk about neuroscience. I don't want to use any fancy words, but I want you to understand that how this simple act of eating actually impacts our brain. So, sorry, this is very small. I'm going to read most of it for you. Mindful eating activates the prefrontal cortex of our brain, which is decision making and self-regulation. It decreases activity of stress and emotion-related activity in the brain. It reduces reward-driven eating. And by regulating dopamine, that's one of the hormones, and then improves gut-brain axis and overall awareness of the food. The brain regions are involved in making all these decisions and wiring up. So, again, decision-making, self-control, insula, which controls your interoception and awareness of bodily sensations, like am I hungry, am I not hungry? And neurotransmitters, you might have heard about serotonin, dopamine. These are all reward and pleasure and mood regulating neurotransmitters. So all this impacts our brain. You're eating, sometimes we just eat because I'm sad, or there is something emotional going on in my life, or it has no relation to the hunger, but I am eating because I just want to, or I just need to, Now, I'm going to break, and I'm going to call my little helper on the stage here. We are going to do this interactive activity, which involves the 5 senses of eating. This is totally voluntary, okay, So, I got, of course, something delicious. My favorite pumpkin seeds, straight out of the bag. And if you have any allergies or you don't feel like eating pumpkin seeds today, you can skip it. We don't take any offense in that. So Noya, can you go around and give everyone like a spoon of pumpkin seeds, please? Noya is my daughter. She's grade 5 and she's pretty. Oh, where's our spoon? It's right here. Okay, just on the hand if someone wants it. Okay. Pumpkin seeds are my favorite. And I was thinking, what do I want to take for this activity? I'm like, maybe it is, pumpkin seed it is. It's, these are packaged little champions.
On this note, I want to ask,
Sorry?
the seed, we have a very different report on whether you should have them soaking overnight or whether you should have them roasted.
Yeah.
What is your opinion?
So, what's your name? Edward. So Edward just asked if, what is my view on, oh no, you missed. It's okay. So Mr. Edward just asked me, like, what are my views on seeds? Some studies, or some people feel that soaking or roasting is helpful, or should we just eat them raw? So when we soak them, and it goes for nuts and seeds as well, sometimes there are anti-nutritional factors in nuts and also seeds. So when you soak them, it just, you can imagine like having a layer outside, it dissolves that layer. It basically makes it easier for your body to absorb the nutrients. But I personally usually eat them raw. The pumpkin seeds. Sometimes I throw them in the air fryer, sometimes I don't. Because most of the times I personally buy nuts and seeds. They are usually dry roasted, unsalted, but I don't specifically soak them in water, but my parents do. They do soak them every day, and it's preference to, I like them more crunchy the way they are, and I think it's it puts a little bit extra work on my body to digest them, and that's okay. It's not causing any harm to me. If that answers your question. So it's basically your preference.
Generally, I eat with roasted.
Yeah.
Left.
Yeah, roast. I usually do the air frying roasted or just get roasted, dry roasted.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite things, and mom and dad would be like, you made us addicted to this. This is our breakfast pretty much every day. I make trail mixes. I make my own. So I use like base of roasted unsalted chickpeas. We use lots of pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. We do roasted soybean, edamame beans. I sometimes put cranberries for antioxidants, and then just mix it up. Peanuts. It just is so delicious. I love it. Of course, like if you have any allergies, of course that is difficult. But generally, it's a pretty good, quick, easy on-the-go snack, which is it keeps you full because it's the right balance of all the nutrients. Okay, my helper is doing a really good job. So everyone is going to have pumpkin seeds pretty quickly. Do you usually eat pumpkin seeds as part of your routine? Most of the people? Yeah, great.
Not regularly.
Not regularly? Okay. Thank you, Noya.
What is it called in Hindi?
Pumpkin. Kaddu.
कद्दू के बीज कद्दू के बीज
Sattu.
And I think we used back in the day for bird food too, right? My friends at work still tease me every single day. Oh, Nav is eating her bird food. Okay, thank you. So we all have bird food now in our hand. I want you to look at your bird food. Look at it. Observe the shape and the color. How do they look? Shiny, green.
Alia.
Green.
Oh, camellia. Okay. Okay.
कहाँ लीचा की हाथ में रखो.
It's okay. You can give them again, Noya, if you see people without the pumpkin seeds. But if you have it, and now I want you to smell it. Do you smell it? Do you smell anything different? Is there any aroma to it?
Smell तो नहीं
No aroma. Do you feel the texture? Touch it. Touch it. Like it's soft, eh? And now you put it in your mouth. And if you already ate it, it's okay. Put it in your mouth and eat it. I can give you more. Whoever wants more. Noya? Now put it in your mouth and crunch it. See how crunchy it is. And of course you can get more. Just raise your hand, Noya will be happy to help you. So this is when we say, you engaged your all senses in eating, in mindful eating. And now if you reflect back, how is it different than your usual eating, like when you eat daily at home or at work in your life? How is it different? Is it different when you pay so much attention versus,
Yeah.
I notice them whenever I eat this pumpkin seed, every single seed I feel, oh, it's so crunchy. Like it is so good. Thank you, Bata. So it's that activity of being there and enjoying it fully. Okay, yes.
Freely given, so I will do it. Otherwise, normally you would have to go and buy it.
Yes, you can have more.
Sure. I do.
Yes,
At the moment, it's nice.
I'm glad. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the brain and gut connection. How our brain and gut are connected. So, food affects our brain, as we talked about neuroscience of the food. And our brain controls, of course, our hunger and our cravings. The processed foods, which are high in salt and sodium and sweets, they can make us, of course, eat more. When you eat something sweet, you want to go back and eat more. It's addictive. And eating slowly helps us feel fully naturally. I have a question. Yes, Noya, you have a question? Oh, okay, that's true too. So Noya said if sometimes you eat something really salty, you want to eat something sweet so you get the salt right down, go figure. That's true. And then overall, research shows that mindfulness overall improves health. So why do we get addicted to processed food? Like you open a bag of chips and there's no stopping, right? And we open something which is like, yes.
I'd like to reverse the question.
Yes, please.
Why do so many processed foods contain sugars,
Yes,
sodium,
yes.
and potassium? Does it help to make them addictive or just to preserve them?
Great question. And I will love to answer that. So, first of all, when you put anything in package and pack it ready to eat, it has to have some sort of keeping quality to it.
Preservative.
So it preserves, right? And it tastes delicious for the consumers. I'll share one example with you. During my studies, actually, I went to the National Institute of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, for a conference on supplements, dietary supplements. This is one of the area of my expertise, actually, dietary supplements overall. And there was a presenter from Kraft. You know Kraft dinner? So they were there, and they said, we conducted an experiment by reducing the sodium content in the craft dinner, and it was a failure. Consumers did not like it. What do they want to make? What consumers would buy. And consumers simply denied it because the taste didn't sound like didn't taste the same. So because of that, it pretty much hijacks our brain that you want to eat that food, you want to go back and back over and over again to it. So it's of course the keeping quality and also the consumer's palatability, like the consumer wants it. Consumer doesn't want to have low sodium, less sweet options. You make mithai with 0% sweet, no one would take it, and it's people want certain things for certain reasons. So it's us basically who won't accept it.
There's another reason too.
Yes.
Sugar is a cheap filler.
Yeah. Sugar is a cheap filler, and it's a preservative as well.
Yeah.
So it keeps the keeping quality of food for longer time, and then it of course it's yummy too, right? Like people get used to that sweet taste. Some people just completely don't eat sugar because if you eat that, you just want to go back to it over and over again. Okay. So what are cravings? I want to take a moment and acknowledge cravings because I hear about cravings a lot. What are cravings? Okay, my Noya wants to give another answer. Okay, you can speak on the mic.
Okay. Cravings are foods that you really, really want to eat, but sometimes you don't have them, or yeah.
Yeah. That's a fair answer. So cravings are foods when there's no physical hunger associated with it. You just want it, and then there is no reason for that. The thought of eating doesn't go away. That you're fixated, and there are emotions related to eating, nostalgia of eating, right?
And health reasons component, diabetes.
Diabetes, yes, because your blood sugar is low, and you want to pick up your blood sugar. Not you're thinking about it, but your body craves it then, because your body's telling you that you're running low on sugars. You want it to be a little bit higher, right?
So the craving comes.
That's when you want it. So of course, that is one of the reasons.
So craving is not always a bad thing.
You get a craving for sweet after dinner,
Yes.
but then your mind says your diabetes might come up, so you crush your and
Yeah.
just say, okay, this is enough.
Yes. I'll get back to you. I'll answer your question.
Yeah.
So usually when we want something sweet after our dinner, is more behavioral, habitual than your body's actual need. Because we have always had something. After food, we always just had a dessert. Is that required or not? We never questioned it. But we want it because always did it, right? So usually that's when exactly your mindful eating comes in play, that you pause, you reflect that is it really my hunger now, or is it just because I wanted to have whatever, sweet, Exactly. It's a habit. It's definitely a habit. You had a question?
So craving is not always a bad thing, is it?
Craving is always
If you have sugar, if the blood sugar is low, you crave sugar.
okay.
And then these pregnant women have a certain
Right.
craving for meaty or something that they want to eat.
Yeah.
And they, that kind of stuff.
Correct. So the question is that craving is not always a bad thing. So when pregnant women crave, of course, we're talking general life, right?
Yeah.
So when pregnant women crave, their hormones are all over the place.
Mhm.
That's why sometimes they want to eat things which are not even food, as you mentioned, right? So it is dictated by your hormones, how your brain is impacting your decision making and thinking. And for sugar, for people who are diabetics, that's a different story.
Right.
It's not really a craving, it's a need of the body. Because And I'll walk you through that because I know there are quite a few diabetics in the crowd and you would want to know more. Mr. Agarwal mentioned that to me over the chat as well, that how this impacts. So when your blood sugar runs, our body wants like a level of blood sugars, right?
Yeah.
When it drops down, and it drops down like quickly due to a reason, is it because you had a meal which was really high in glycemic load, as we say, or high in sugars, your blood sugar goes up like bell curve, drops down, like hyperbola, right? Hyperbola goes up and drops down. That's when you want sometimes the sugar fix, because now body is craving that fix again, like the sugar again, right? But when you eat more balanced, your overall balanced meals, and I want actually, when you leave today, I want you to pay attention to all these messages from your body when you eat, that am I really hungry? Did I make a balanced choice? And I'm going to leave that, I have this at end of my presentation, that you want to focus on the balance. When you focus on the balance, you will notice that your blood sugars don't do this yo throughout the day. They stay level pretty much throughout. So it's also how we eat, what we feed our body. Okay. So, and now we'll talk about the science of cravings and Āsvāda. So taste triggers dopamine, that's brain's reward center, and highly processed foods hijack our brain's natural reactions. So habitual snacking, of course, when you, and this is something I have developed myself, is not to eat like every hour or two. Even if it's little thing, mindless eating can really overpower your body's natural hunger. Because you don't recognize it. You're eating constantly, and every time you eat, like after an hour, you won't even notice, especially for women, when we cook in the kitchen. We're cooking, we're cutting food in the mouth. I'm now cleaning, I ate my food, now if daughter leaves a little bit of the piece, I would eat that. We don't even think about that, but every single time we do that, blood sugar goes up. It goes up like this. So that's where your mindfulness kicks in, that no, I don't need to eat that. It's garbage if it goes in the garbage or in my stomach. It's the same thing. Which garbage do I choose? I choose or I save it for leftovers. But I mean, so that's why it's important to pay attention, like to your body's cues. Okay, now I'm going to pause here. If you have any questions, thoughts, reflections, yes, Mr. Sorry, there's one person. You want the mic?
No. You just have to look in my eyes.
Yes.
Can you distinguish between a craving and a need? So for instance, I'm a diabetic. If my blood sugar drops, I know I'm a candidate for hypoglycemic shock.
Yeah.
So I try to take something.
Okay.
Now I would consider that to be a need of the body. But a craving would be, whenever I see a bag of potato chips, I want to eat 6 of them.
Yeah.
Is that a meaningful discussion? Difference?
It is. It sure is. So when you talk about cravings, you're not really hungry. You're not hungry. You're just thinking about a bag of chips, right?
Exactly.
So it's different than when you're actually low in blood sugars. Your body's going into crisis. You want
Your
some.
body will tell you feel giddy.
Exactly.
You're
You
about to
feel,
black out.
and that is very, very different. Your body's way of telling you that you need to eat something because your blood sugar drops down, and that's one thing which is more dangerous than high blood sugar.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So that is a totally different thing. It's not we don't want to confuse the body's messages signal with a feeling which is this: I'm not hungry. I just had my full lunch, but now I want maybe gulab jamun, or something. So that is craving. It's different. I remember this. We watched this movie many, many years ago. Me and my husband, we were just watching this, and then jalebi came. People who don't know jalebi, it's a delicious Indian dessert. Jalebi comes in this movie, and I'm like, oh, let's go and get jalebi. Do I need the jalebi right now? No, we don't. but because it's emotional, it brings nostalgia, and I want to eat it now. So of course we went and we got it, but it's that difference, right? So it's really understanding, and of course mindfulness brings that clarity in you. I'll take your question. Yes.
Do you eat when you are hungry, or do you eat at stipulated time? So say noon for lunch and say 7 o'clock for dinner.
Yeah.
What should drive your eating?
Great question. So again, acknowledging your body. Typically, you should eat when you're hungry, right? You need to, like, sometimes we just look at the clock, and especially people who work, you have structured lunch breaks. You can't eat on your desk, like, a lot of people don't have that, like, flexibility. You're obliged to eat, or you're bound to eat at your given breaks, right? So that is different, but generally speaking, you want to eat when you're hungry. That's the time when you want to eat. Because if you just eat when you're not even hungry, you're not paying full attention to your food, you're not paying attention to what you're eating. So it's not respecting or acknowledging really your body's cues. So generally speaking, eat when you're hungry, but if you only have that break when that's the only time for you to eat, you're waiting for you to be hungry, and that happens in the middle of your meeting, then that's when the machine of our mind comes in. Okay. So yes.
Is there a difference between eating processed sugar and eating a carrot when a person goes through a craving?
Yeah.
So these people who are diabetic,
Yeah.
is it possible for them to train themselves instead of reaching for a cookie, reach for a carrot or a stick of celery or an apple?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Okay.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah. No, that's a great thought. Edward said, if you could train your mind that you reach out to a carrot instead of a cookie. Yeah, the laughter here, like, of course. So that is how you train your mind. And again, if you're talking about diabetic, that's a totally different scenario. If someone is having low blood sugar, I don't want them to eat a carrot at that time. I want you to eat something which is quick, high glycemic index, like a glucose or a shot which will just increase your blood sugar within 15 minutes. That's different. But definitely in general life, yes, like if you train your mind and you enjoy that carrot, I think carrot is the most delicious thing, packed with nutrients and the fiber. So you want to enjoy the carrot, of course. But if you want to have a combination, you can maybe make carrot cookies. That could be a thing too. So it's, again, and I'll talk about that, like how do we retrain our mind. Okay, we'll talk a couple slides on the evidence from research on mindful eating, and then I'll leave you with some practical strategies. Okay, so some of the evidence from research suggests that mindful eating helps with weight control, reduced binge emotional eating. It also improves digestion and glucose regulation. So folks with diabetes, that yo-yo becomes pretty much stable. It lowers the cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Mindful eating is linked with mental well-being. So it's linked to psychological well-being, reduced stress, and greater satisfaction with food and body image. Digestive benefits. So it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting relaxation and aiding digestion. So when you sit down and you start eating, when you chew your food, the act of digestion starts right in the mouth. So when you sit down, you're not just like, gulping your food down, but you're actually chewing it. It actually is helping your digestive system. It helps with weight management. So
I heard it starts when you look at the food, because you smell the food, you look at it, the saliva starts. That's when the digestion.
Yes, of course, of course. Yeah, 100%. It helps with, of course, better nutrient absorption and supports gut-brain function as well. It helps with the weight management, sensory awareness, and habit changes. So for example, the consistent practice of training the brain is associated with pleasure and healthier foods. Something I can reflect on my own journey with this, and it reduces the cravings for sure. Again, something I'm talking from my own practice, like how I have learned that in my life. I want to actually show you one quick study without going into too much of a detail. This study is called SHINE. So it said studies supporting health and integrating nutrition and exercise. So this study had two groups, and it investigated the effects of integrating mindfulness-based stress reduction into a standard diet. So both the groups had standard diet and exercise intervention. So this was like, they did it on obese individuals. But both the groups, the only difference was mindful strategies and then general like diet and exercise strategies. So the interesting thing here I want you to pay attention to is folks who were in the mindful eating group actually enhanced their intervention, like improved eating patterns and metabolic health compared to the standard intervention. They had increased positive emotions, mindfulness, psychological flexibility and reflection to the food, decreased anxiety and depressive symptoms. They sustained improvements over a longer term period. And mindfulness group decreased both glucose and lipids over the 12 and 18-month mark. And mindfulness group showed marginally better weight loss even. With the same thing, same food, exercise, it helped with the more weight loss, maintenance overall. And reduced the hedonic drive, explained 47% of the weight loss. The hedonic drive is that compulsion which you just want to eat something. When you eat mindfully, that reduces that drive, and that impacts, like 47% is pretty significant number if you look at, that it improves the overall your maintenance of your weight, for example, and improved autonomic stress responses. I think this study is pretty incredible, which shows the power of mindfulness in overall health and well-being. I want to also take a moment because Gandhi also believed in fasting, something I also believe in. So fasting, it helps the body, we say detoxification, it's that. It improves your metabolism, it supports blood sugar control and also digestion. And there are some studies which say it may help with brain function, also aging. I'm sure some of you might have come across some of the anti-aging impacts of fasting. Okay, so this is, yes?
May I know how many people were involved in the first experiment?
It was a longitudinal study. I don't know exactly how much number was there, but it was like a fairly large sample.
Large meaning lakhs?
We can search. I can give you more. I can share the paper with you actually, if you want. Like it's pretty incredible. Yes.
You mentioned fasting. As you know, it's very much a part of Indian culture.
Yeah.
Are there other cultures also which incorporate fasting as a?
Yeah, there are. So fasting is actually beyond Indian culture. Many cultures adapt fasting, or there are different ways of fasting, right? So sometimes we fast, we don't eat at all. Sometimes we fast or abstain from certain foods. So for example, Navratri, right? We eat everything pretty much, but we are abstaining from gluten.
I mentioned that because in the Catholic Church,
Yeah.
the Middle Ages and so on are very well regulated, at Lent you eat that and so on.
Yeah, because of the concept of intermittent fasting, maybe that's where it comes from. And there's a lot of research which is going into intermittent fasting these days. We were not ever designed to eat 24 hours. We have liver for a reason, to have some energy. So our bodies can rely on stored glycogen in the liver when we're not eating. But again, it's the habit that we just want to eat. People eat at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, go to bed right away, and wake up and start eating again, right? So we were not designed for that. Yes.
What would you call fasting for 24 hours, or just one meal a day, or something different?
Yeah. So fasting is multifaceted, I could say. Your fast could be your overnight fasting, like which we call breakfast for a reason, right? Because we were fasting at night, we did not eat. There are fasts which people do for 24 hours, abstain from food altogether. There's research coming on this actually, that there are changes which happen in your body, in your metabolism, when you fast for 12 to 16 hours. That's normally what people do for intermittent fasting. Then you go beyond that, 24 hours, and then you go beyond that. People go up to 72 hours. They say autophagy happens, meaning the cells start to repair when people go up to that level. But it is, of course, it's still within parameters of research. We don't have a lot of conclusive evidences yet, but research is pretty much focused on this area right now of fasting and how it could improve the health and overall well-being. Okay. Yes, Edward.
40 hours when you fast for 40 hours.
Yeah.
Are you able to drink water?
Yeah.
Drink water with no food yourself?
Yeah, usually when people drink, people eat food, go 40 hours fasting, yes, people do drink water because that flushes down the waste products, byproducts of metabolism. And sometimes people do electrolytes in that time, but no food. Electrolytes really to maintain bodies, like electrolytes, of course, and but no food, of course. So then different, and I don't advise that, of course, that you go ahead and do that. It's very specific to people, like what condition are you in? Like are you balanced, or are you stable in terms of your blood glucose? Like there's so many factors that goes behind it. But I wanted to mention that there's a lot of evidence. What I can suggest folks in the room is maybe develop a habit of not eating too late. That's one thing which I cannot stress enough. To have your dinner time, before 6:30. At least have 2-3 hours of gap between your last meal and when you go to bed. Because our metabolism goes down anyways at night time, and then we eat so heavy, big meal, it just messes up our whole system. That's one advice which I can make, like a general, statement. Of course, not people who are diabetic who need to watch their blood sugar and stuff, but in general, like healthy folks, you definitely should try not eating at least 3 hours before bedtime, and give your system a little break, give your insulin a break, and give your body time to digest food and focus on that absorption. Yes.
This makes me think. I grew up in the Jain faith.
Yes.
And the rule there, during my childhood days, my mother and my elders, they did not eat after sunset.
Yeah, exactly. That's what there is wisdom in our cultural practices. There is a lot of wisdom, and now when I know a little about nutrition and I reflect back, I understand. I understand the reason for fasting. I understand when we do certain things, like it's just a break to our system. Like 7 days we don't eat any gluten. It's a break from gluten.
But the only problem I see is that it was all right in India, but here sometimes daylight is only 6.
That's true. That is true.
What should they do?
You eat at 4 o'clock. I know. It's also the habit. Like personally, this is my habit that I don't eat too late. Doesn't matter I don't care about the sunlight. I care about the clock. That okay, I'm going to sleep in this time. I need to eat my food now. So my food is digested, because at night time I want my body to relax, retire. I don't want the blood to gush back to my gut to digest food. So I know in the summertime you could be eating your dinner at like 10 or 11 o'clock. So I don't really let that dictate it. It's more of your habit. Okay, so final part. I know we are having a really good discussion. I love it when people talk and interact. This is what I want you to take home today with you. You understand the why, I hope. I made somewhat of an impact on your understanding, but now, what does it mean in your day-to-day? And this is one of the quotes, I think, from Mahatma Gandhi's. Let food be your medicine, not your master. You know, they say we are what we eat. So, how do we do those strategies? How do we include those strategies? First of all, chew your food, not your worries. Sometimes it refers to emotional eating. You know, like you're eating because you're anxious, you're eating because you're just not feeling great, or there could be many reasons. The idea is that you reflect and acknowledge your emotions. If it is anxiety, how do we deal with that anxiety? Food is not a solution for every single thing, right? It could fix you for a few minutes, but maybe there's an underlying cause we have to address. And also, when you eat over your tasks, your plan, your day, it's difficult to be grateful for your food. And as I mentioned in the beginning, you can retrain your taste buds. Our taste buds change every 10 to 14 days. Can you believe it? Every 10 to 14 days, our taste buds change. So you can train your taste buds to like new foods, to have food without less salt, to have your food with, like a new thing which didn't taste so good before. Maybe it will taste good now. Eating whole food definitely reduces cravings. And a lot of my clients would be like, I want this smoothie. I'm like, eat the smoothie. You put so many things into a jar, blend it and drink it, you gulp it down. It has a very different impact on your body versus when you eat all this food in your plate and then you eat it. You spend 20 minutes eating that versus 2 minutes gulping it down. Your body's insulin reaction would be like this versus slow and steady. And then it will keep you fuller for a really, really long time. And chewing well improves your digestion, as I mentioned, because digestion starts right in the mouth. And one of the challenge, I don't know if I'm brave enough to say this, honestly, but I have it here, so I'll speak it out. Try cutting back on sugar for 2 weeks.
Can you repeat that?
Try cutting back on sugar for 2 weeks. Let's try it. I'll be with you in this.
When you say sugar, you are talking about sugar and carbohydrates? Or
No carbohydrates,
plain
of course. Just sugar.
Just sugar.
Just sugar. We need carbohydrates to sustain, yes.
I think you're referring to processed sugar, right? Not the one that's in fruits. Or
No. Just the sugar, like the one you see like a white powder coming down a spoon.
Processed
I
Just
didn't
the
have it for years like that.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I didn't have for years like that.
Good for you. You have a glow on your face, I can tell.
No, but like eat fruits, but like
Yeah, exactly. So, sugar, salt, and saturated fats, these 3 S's, can promote inflammation in the body. So sugar is one of those things which actually can promote inflammation in the body. So when we cut back on it, you would feel a difference in your overall health and well-being. Okay, some of the practical tips I want you to pay attention to is eat without screens or multitasking.
No TV.
Very difficult.
I think we can do it.
I didn't get your questions. Say again, please.
Eat without distractions.
So no TV.
No TV, unfortunately.
No TV, no computers.
No TV, no computer, no phone, tick, 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 tick on the side.
That's why I said very.
Chew thoroughly. Pause between your bites. Ideally, if not everyone is doing it, I would technically want you to put a timer on your watch, or not, wherever, 20 minutes. Give yourself 20 minutes to eat a meal. You deserve that, and you will see how it changes yourself, how it changes your body. use smaller portions. Coming back to your question, use smaller portions. Use smaller plates. Don't take like a big thali. You don't have to fill the big thali. Like smaller plates, taller glasses. There's so much research on this. It's interesting that taller glasses gives a feeling of fullness than like a wider short glass. The content could be same. There's another study which I read. I learned so much making this presentation. I love it. That an orange cup in the orange mug, go figure, gives that extra pleasure. So people who love to enjoy a beverage, if you put it in an orange cup, it is just more rewarding. Like that's how it can play with our senses and sensory experiences overall. And drink water or herbal teas when you're not hungry. That is one of the things I even tell my daughter all the time. Mama, I'm hungry. I'm like, maybe go drink a glass of water. You don't always need to eat food. Sometimes our bodies cannot differentiate between being hungry and being thirsty. Sometimes it's just that you need to have like a glass of water, but your body cannot tell you, oh, I'm just hungry, right? So differentiate between that. And practice a pause before meals. And that's also one of the cultural things. I think most of the people in the room, I'm making a statement here that we usually do pray before eating food, right? That thank you God for this, that we're eating it.
What's the significance of praying?
For the significance of praying, it's gratitude.
Okay.
It's the gratitude of food. Yes.
I had a question about the distraction piece.
Yeah.
So is eating in a family setting where other people are conversing with them, do you consider that to be a distraction, or is that enhancing your experience?
It is enhancing your experience for sure. It is bringing families together. You know, there's a saying, am I mixing up? There's a saying that families who eat together stay together, something like that?
Yes, exactly.
There is something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the perfect time, especially in this fast-paced life we are in. Sometimes we don't get to see each other at all, right? So mealtime is the perfect time, and then some people just put away their phones. Some moms make these rules that no phones on the table. You are just eating food. So no, it's not distraction.
But you're not focusing on the food in this case. You're focusing on the conversation. So
Yeah,
that's one of my questions.
it's a great, like I understand what you're saying, but maybe we can develop like a practice of like if I'm eating with the daughter, I'm like, okay, let's pay attention to food, like how does it taste, and then and sometimes families only have that time. That's also the conversation, like you want to talk about your day. So it's again it's bringing that feeling of togetherness as well. So it's finding that and there's no right or wrong, honestly. You make your own rules, you make your own strategies which work for you, which work for your family. But it's being aware, it's being, like, okay, we are eating, it's not just gulping down, you're putting time, you're spending time on eating food, because that's what keeps us going, basically. Yes? I'll come up.
Are there studies which show that multitasking while eating has very severe negative effects?
Yeah, like, the study I just showed you, the SHINE study, was actually the only difference between the two groups was being mindful.
Oh, okay.
That's the only difference. They were doing exactly the same things. They were eating the same food. They were doing the same physical activity. The only differentiating factor was being mindful. And we saw that how it could impact. And that's only one study. I wanted to keep it still not too research heavy presentation, but there are multiple, there are like systematic reviews, there are meta-analyses on it, which shows the impact.
Navita?
Yes.
Mr. Vadera had a question.
Oh yes, sorry, I'm sorry.
How about eating a smoothie rather than drinking a smoothie?
I mentioned that, yeah. I actually talked about this, like you want to eat your smoothies and not drink your smoothies. Sometimes, Priya, I'll come to you. So sometimes I understand we are in a fast-paced environment, sometimes we don't have time, and I acknowledge that, and I appreciate, sometimes we don't have the time. Generally speaking, I'm like, imagine how we make a smoothie. You have a glass of, like a half a cup or something of milk or yogurt. Then you put maybe 4 strawberries. I'm just making a smoothie here with you, with random ingredients. Maybe half a banana, maybe some pumpkin seed, maybe some chia, maybe some hemp hearts. And now I put them all, blend them in. Actually, the biochemistry of food changes when we blend it, we mince it, versus when you actually sit down, you eat, you chew, you gulp it down. So it's definitely any day better to eat it versus drinking it.
How about chewing every sip?
Yeah, you can't really chew your sips, Edward. Let's do that.
What I'm saying, I'm not understanding, if the chemistry actually changes by grinding or mixing food together.
Yeah.
But if you still chew it, would you still get the same benefit as if you have gotten the whole food solid and fine?
Right. So Edward is saying, if
Can you repeat the
yeah, I'm repeating the question.
Right.
So Edward is saying that if you make a smoothie, but you eat it now versus you drink it, would it make a difference? So that's a very interesting take. I wonder if we can, I don't know about this, like if we can actually eat chew the smoothie. Because if it's liquidy, you know, yeah, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe let's try. Yes, Dr. Gaba.
I was gonna add that the enzymes that we have in our mouth.
I want you to be on the mic.
The enzymes that we need to chew, right, to digest, they start from the mouth.
Yeah.
So we need those to chew. So those would be different.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned how if you're putting all the food together, it's gulping down together, so you're doing that glycemic index
Exactly.
chewing up,
Yeah.
versus the slow process of chewing, then you're sort of having it more regulated.
Absolutely.
I was just going to say that there's a study, and I can't remember it from when, but not very long ago, which showed kids have much higher IQs when they sit on the table with their parents and enjoy a meal.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
there's a lot of wealth or balance in that joy of eating with family, and of course, it sort of, develops that mindful
Absolutely.
eating right there.
And I would like you to introduce yourself, please.
I'm Priya
Yes.
Gaba. I'm a family physician.
Yeah, I want people, I know, of course I know you, Priya, but I know this coming from a doctor, like family physician based, a little bit heavier. Okay. Alrighty, okay, so we were talking about eating too fast, so I said this is one of the things which I wanted to do is put your timer on, 20 minutes, sit down, eat your food. And cravings, if you have a craving, replace it with a ritual. Maybe go out for a walk, maybe have like a glass of water, maybe dance or do something, which is just, putting your mind away from that fixation. And then the last one is social pressure. And I know we are all social people. Social pressure is really big, especially in our culture, I understand. You can always use your polite refusals. I always say, do your friends want you to eat that, whatever they're pressuring you to eat, versus having you being here and being with them and be healthy? So and once you tell it to your friends, they understand. My friends know that Nav eats early, and they'll change the timing of the parties because Nav eats early. And it happens. They know, and then they appreciate and acknowledge that, okay, she eats early, it's fine, we'll eat early. So it's that reframing our mindsets. Okay, so 7 steps to eat mindfully, and I want you to walk this down, and I want you to take this home with you. Put away your distractions. Put away your distractions, Mr. I'm kidding. No, it's okay. Put away your distraction, your TV, your phone. Now chew slowly. My dad used to say, you have to chew 32 times. And I took it literally in my life. I think I chew it more than 32 times. Every single bite I do that, honestly I do. Eat when hungry and stop when full. recognize your body's cues, and take a deep breath before eating. And whoever you believe in, that gratitude, and choose whole, unprocessed foods as much as you possibly can. And appreciate flavors and textures, how we enjoy that little pumpkin seed. And try a mindful eating challenge. From today onwards, I would want and I would request you to pay respect or take the time out for your food, basically, to eat mindfully. Oops, sorry. And now, finally, honor the food. When you eat, you only eat. I think this is an analogy we used to hear all the time, that imagine the journey food takes to come to your plate. It goes through so many processes to be a meal, from farmers growing the produce to coming to your table, from your mothers, from yourself cooking it, and then finally to eat. It goes through a long journey to get into your mouth. So honor that food. The gratitude. Eat the meal with mindfulness and gratitude. We are fortunate to have a meal and enjoy that. Practice. Recognize our tendency to overeat and practice eating in moderation. It's also healthy for our planet when we make those sustainable food choices. And it's health for all, basically. Okay, so this is being mindful after I eat. Now we did those 7 steps. You finish your meal. Now, imagine, we are eating a virtual meal here, I think. Notice that we have finished our bowl, and our bowl is empty. Our hunger is satisfied. Take a moment to enjoy the blessing of food. Be thankful as we realize we are fortunate to have nourishing food to eat. And practice is a must. If I keep saying all this and I don't do it in my life, it's of no good use. So practice is a must. Knowledge is important, but if you don't inculcate in this our day-to-day life, it doesn't mean anything. And it is necessary to practice and experience the knowledge individually with others. So again, as Dr. Gaba said, that study showed that connection of eating with your family, your friends, and that connection of social well-being is also very, very important for food. And how do we bring these both worlds together? Mindfulness and eating. Whole plant forwarded diets support mindfulness. So a lot of research on plant-based foods, plant-based nutrition. Avoid hyper-palatable processed foods as much as you practically can. Include fiber-rich, anti-inflammatory options. Anti-inflammatory foods are one of the areas of my PhD, actually. I did a research on flax and inflammation and how anti-inflammatory foods can impact inflammation in the body. And nutrients like calcium, like overall nutrients, and different colors and different food groups in your diet. Focus on including different food groups, different colors. They all look great, but they also make a lot of impact in the body. And mindful eating goes beyond just eating, hey? It's choosing what you eat by being nutritionally smart, because you have to pick the foods which you will eat. Shopping for nourishing foods. Preparing and cooking the meals is, if you know your week is busy, you don't have time, how would you prepare your meals that can help you have, healthy, nutritious overall food? Setting the table for a meal and serving the food. Taking the time after a meal and cleaning up after a meal. It's all part of the mindful eating. And your take-home message is, try one mindful eat, sorry, I'm running out of my words. Try one mindful meal a day, every single day. If your days are busy, your packed agendas, at least one meal a day. Reflect on your relationship with food. And finally, I want to leave you with this question. What is one small change you can make today to eat more mindfully? What is that one change you can make to eat more mindfully? That is the take-home message. You had been a lovely audience, and I like how you were so interactive. This is linked to my website, navnutrition.com. I have a private practice under the name of Navita Nutrition and Dietetics, and I practice across Ontario virtually, and then of course if people in Ottawa, I always love to meet people. If you have any questions, I actually brought some of my cards, it reminds me. So I'll leave some of my cards. If you have any question, if you want me to tell you, send you that study, please give me your email. I'll be happy to send you a yes.